and welcome to Retail Media Unplugged. I'm Cindy Loza, Senior Editor for the Path to Purchase Institute. In this series, we dive into the nitty-gritty of retail media to explore the latest trends, strategies, and tactics for success. Each episode, we go behind the scenes with industry experts to uncover best practices for navigating this evolving landscape. Joining us today, I'm delighted to welcome Chrissy Arsenault, Director of Marketing, Brand, and E-commerce at Pompeian, and one of this year's P2PI Retail Media Award winners. Chrissy, thanks so much for taking the time to chat with me today, and congratulations on your well-deserved award win. It's so great to see you recognized. And it's well deserved, as we're about to find out. So I'll just dive in. Given how fast the commerce marketing landscape is moving, what would you say is your biggest operational or strategic challenge in your role right now?
Yes. So operationally, there's two things that come to mind. First is personalizing the approach to each individual retail media network. And the second is a proliferation of RMNs because I feel like there's a new one and that pops up every couple of days that wants a share of your retail media budget. Strategically, I would say trying to get to incrementality. So, just starting with the operational side, personalization is so important, and we have to recognize there's no one size fits all approach. Amazon is not Walmart, Sam's Club is not Costco, and a lot of retail marketers, like especially if you're tasking an agency to do something, it can kind of feel like the same approach across everything. But the reality is the shopper insights, the category landscape in terms of how developed your specific category is, and then the retail media capabilities all vary by each of those networks and customers. So in this current stage, commerce marketing teams are not just there to learn how to execute retail media as practitioners, but they have to go a layer beyond that. They have to understand the customer in great depth. And when I say customer, it's like the retailer, like Amazon or Walmart. And they have to understand the shopper. How does a Costco shopper behave fundamentally different than someone at Kroger? So in this landscape that we're in, commerce marketers have to be not just practitioners, but they're strategists and general managers. And then I talked about the proliferation of RMNs. There's just so many. And that fragmentation is, it's outpacing the measurement capabilities that we're getting. Each retailer has its own media network, right? Some of them have clean rooms, others don't. They have different definitions of ROAS and what type of metrics you get out of it. And they're all incentivized to grade their own homework and be like, look at all the great things we can do. So the operational burden isn't just like knowing how to run campaigns. It's then stitching together apples to oranges to lemons and showing that unified view of performance across networks so that we can genuinely compare performance and investment decisions. Because, like, let's be real, if we invested in every single retail media network we have at our company, we would have way too many and we would not have enough money to properly invest. But the average industry is around 6 to 7 networks. So we have to be relentless in ensuring that every dollar works hardest for us with the best partners who are willing to work with us and test new things and deliver the best strategy. And then I think strategically, the buzzword and the challenge that we face as commerce marketers is defending that incrementality. It's so easy to spend against shoppers who would have bought Pompeian anyway, and that's where a lot of RMNs will promise like a $20 ROAS. Look at all the great sales you're driving. And then you go back and look at the top line for that retailer sales, and nothing's changed. So the hard, important work is proving which dollars actually changed or influenced an outcome. So that would be measured in a new household, new to brand, incremental sales, trade up, or maybe a bigger basket, and reallocating ruthlessly toward those outcomes more so than just media indicators or metrics.
You've said that the future of retail media is a full funnel vehicle rather than just cost to serve. What are the biggest roadblocks preventing brands and retailers from unlocking that full funnel potential right now?
I think it's on both the brand and the retailer side from my perspective. So From a brand perspective, in a lot of cases, and this really resonated with me when I talked to several other commerce marketers last week, budgets are just sitting in so many different departments or functions, and it's not centralized, right? Because as retail media grew, a lot of times there's, e-commerce teams, customer or shopper marketing teams, sales teams, and there's no clear ownership of who makes those decisions. And what happens if we want to take money from one bucket and put it in another. Plus, when things sit with retail media where you're like a customer marketer for a specific customer, you're judged against sales and customer specific goals, right? That often ladder up into sales. So you don't get to say like, oh, I increased brand awareness by X amount. And then the organization says, that's great, but you're measured against growing top line sales here. So what the heck are you doing? So it's the outcome of, like we've grown so quickly as, I guess, a function, like or a practice as retail media. So there's not that clear ownership where you can move things around easily. On the retailer side, I would say it's measurement silos. So like most networks at this point still report that last click ROAS, and it's a measurement no one wants to see because it structurally just rewards lower funnel tactics and it makes upper funnel investments look bad even when it's working. So someone will look at a sponsored brand, which is supposed to be more middle of the funnel, like brand awareness building, reinforcing messaging, and they're like, well, that was only a $1 ROAS. And with sponsored products, I get 5. Well, you're looking at apples to oranges here, so it's not even a fair comparison. So I think to overcome those roadblocks, I don't think it's something, quite honestly, that any commerce marketer or commerce marketing teams have figured out. But I would say the more that we can align to common goals between all these different teams that have a stake in driving customer goals is going to be so important. And allowing that fluidity of budgets to shift between buckets to where it's working best. And honestly, until retailers offer that transparent, standardized, incrementality-based measurement, brands are going to rationally keep their dollars at the bottom of the funnel where attribution seems to be the easiest, right? Especially if you're like a lot of retail media teams are new. They're coming in with as new functions to the organization. Of course, they want to demonstrate value. So you want to show really good numbers, but then by doing that, you're leaving that growth on the table. And I would say for unlocking just full funnel potential, lean into video forward test and learns, or even just social or recipe type things that a lot of RMNs are coming forward with. So I was excited to see that yesterday Walmart Connect just announced that partnership with YouTube. So that's really cool because Kroger just did the same thing back in March and they've had some early success. And then I'll be curious to see how some of that integration and that closed loop measurement evolves with some of the meta capabilities that retailers have been starting to tap into.
Yeah, so on the subject of like retail media tactics, what's currently driving the most success in your toolbox, and which ones are you eyeing to leverage more in the future?
Currently, I would say the most success that we've had has been with on-site display, dependent on the retailer, of course, but retail media used to be so all in on sponsored search, but honestly, the evolution of display has been phenomenal. Just watching that over the last couple of years. You can target audiences so much more effectively versus just subsidizing someone that would have bought your product or your brand anyway, especially if you have strong organic rankings, right? That's where that incrementality pays off. If you are more of like an ankle biter or challenger brand, I would assume, sponsored search works hardest for us because you're getting placement where you don't naturally have it. But for us, we are the number one olive oil brand, the number one cooking oil brand. So we have those placements. So it's then finding other creative ways to reach that shopper in the right moment, in the right context. So that being said, things that I would love to leverage more in the future, there's like 20 different things I want to test out, but I keep reminding myself I can't just chase shiny objects. It has to be focused and, a test that is calculated risks, right? Because otherwise you're spreading out budgets too thin. So I would say, one for me is just more video forward assets. Connected TV is growing, and in a world of so much AI, the humanity piece is so critical. Consumers don't want AI slop, and they notice it. they choose brands they feel good about. And video, when it's done really well, can really help build that for a brand in a very special way where it sticks versus just seeing a product pop up, because then you're relying on packaging to do all the work for you. Coming out of the Retail Media Summit last week, one thing I've added to my list is in-store retail media. We've done some tests around digital screens, but I think it's also come a long way, and there's a lot of connected store formats. There was a lot of great discussion around it and how we even just measure the success of that. But realistically, retail media is great, but the vast majority of grocery shopping for food as a category at least still happens in store. So I'll be curious to see how more of those tactics, formats, and measurement evolves over time.
Now, agentic commerce is a very hot topic right now in the industry. I probably don't have to tell you. How much is this on your radar right now? And how do you prepare for a future where an AI bot, not a human, is actually making the brand choice for a staple product like olive oil?
So for ingredients and staples like this, I think brands should be terrified, and I am too. Answer engine optimization is the future of what SEO used to be. So future proofing, from my point of view, comes in several different ways. So the first is being making sure that we're AI ready. So it all comes through in the content, but there's no good way to measure it. Is kind of like there is no industry standard. There's no good way to see what sticks. So I'm in a stage where we're just testing and learning to see what sticks. And if not, then we go on to the next thing, and making sure that we're focused on different tests, because there is no, standardized great way to get that measurement today. And then structured information has been top of mind. Make it easy for the robots to be able to pull that information. So it's just even simple things, attributes, what certifications or diet restrictions are you eligible for, the sourcing information, making sure you have really strong reviews that speak to, how you would speak to your brand. And if you're speaking on value, even just is it price per ounce or like a relative comparison, just clean machine readable content to make sure that your shelf placement is easily just picked up by that AI and it can run with it. The second is then creating that emotional connection through brand equity messaging as much as we can. Because, like I said, I'm terrified. And if all the shopping was, hey, just do the shopping like I did last week and it adds olive oil, it's just going to be private label brands for the most part because they have the strongest value equation, but not the special level up that, brands in terms of stories and quality that we can tell. So as much as we can secure mind share with consumers, that helps future-proof brands for the future so that we're not just another brand on the shelf. We actually win not just the wallets, but the hearts of consumers over time to make sure that even when AI comes, they're like, I actually don't know that brand, or, I prefer this brand over the store brand. So then they move forward with that educated choice. And that's something that we're constantly working on as a brand team.
Well, that wraps up this episode of Retail Media Unplugged. A big thank you to Chrissy for sharing her expertise and enthusiasm with us today. For the Path to Purchase Institute, I'm Cyndi Loza. Thanks for tuning in.